happens when you have those tests and you pass those tests and you get to the other side of it and you see how much that have grown you, that could either be just your character, it could be professionally, it could be in any capacity. Once you get over that hurdle and you look back, you look at things and you say, okay, that was necessary to get me to this level. And sometimes they're just mindset builders and mindset changers, just to get you in a certain mindset.
Welcome to the Mindset on Resilience podcast, where we are building a more confident, resilient, and mentally strong community. I'm your host, Daniel Truelove, and I am excited about the guest that we have an opportunity to speak with today. She is dynamic, has been in the education space for 20 years. You hear that? Listen, 20 years for anybody to be an educator for 20 years, just know you have to be resilient. I just put it like that. So she's been in education for 20 years, and she is the proud principal of Sumter Central High School. I am so excited for our guest today. It is none other than Miss Lytrice Washington-Murray. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be a part of our conversations today.
Listen, I am excited as well. All the conversations that I've had with you have been dynamic, and so I don't think that this one's going to be any different than any of those. I think I met you when I came to I think it was the mentoring program, wasn't that when you were at Northridge? Yeah, I think that was it. And so
It was at Northridge High School, and last year we had you come down and speak to our Setting the Standard mentor group, and you did a awesome job, by the way.
thank you, I appreciate that. And now you've had the opportunity to step into a principal role, and so congratulations to you on that. And you're 20, you're still doing big things.
Trying to. It's all about, working hard, persevering through the storms and being an example for some of our younger educators coming through, just letting them know the sky's the limit when it comes to this profession and whatever they put their mind to or how far they go. It's just depending upon that hard work that they're willing to put into it.
Yeah. So let's start there. Obviously, you had a journey into education. So can you tell us a little bit about how your journey into education? Because was this your goal? You wanted to be an educator? What's your story that's centered around that?
Well, growing up, education has always been like a big part of our family. My grandmother's sister was a principal, African American principal at the one of the first African American schools in the state of Alabama. These schools were called Rosenwald schools, and Booker T. Washington, along with Julius Rosenwald, started a number of these schools in the state of Alabama to be able to, educate our African American children because during this time it was still segregation. And so, like I said, my grandmother's sister was one of the first principals at one of those schools. And I remember my grandmother having conversations in reference to, she also would attend those schools as well, and her other sister did. And during those times, of course, there were no transportation. They didn't have buses. I know she would tell me that they would have to take wagons to school, but it was so far off. So what would happen? A lot of the families that stayed closer to the schools would actually house children. So they, during the week, would stay at someone else's house in order to be able to attend school. So that kind of showed me the example of, education, that is the key to success. And it's not going to always be easy. And it's about the hard work and the effort that you put into it. And, to me, and I always try to relate to our children, it's so much easier now for us because now we have transportation that's provided by our districts. Now we have so many opportunities that we have, but in years past, they didn't have all those opportunities, but they still, did the hard work and they were dedicated in getting that education. So I grew up hearing all of those stories. And so they served as really big motivators for me when it came to, getting myself prepared, for graduation, post high school graduation. I felt like education was the outlet, was the key to success. I'm a first generation, college student. my parents, didn't go to college, so I was the first one, and I was the oldest child. I felt like I had to be the example, for my siblings. And like I said, it was always emphasized that education was the key to success. I did play basketball while I was in high school, and I did receive a scholarship. So I actually used my athletic abilities to be able to finance, you know, um, my education, after high school. So, like I said, I feel like, I grew up with all those expectations and hearing those stories, and they serve as my initial motivators into going into education, and also serving as the, I guess, background for my feelings on the importance of education.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, so you had a family that was deeply rooted in your family. Obviously, continuing to have those conversations like education as a path. But like when you went to college, were you like, did you major in? Did you know for sure you were going to education? Obviously, you continue to get degrees. Like, kind of tell me that journey, how you said, okay, this is it.
I went to college. My first initial major was chemical engineering. I wanted to be a chemical engineer, totally different from the education world. But I did play basketball. So I played 4 years of college basketball. And once I was finished, I felt like I wanted to coach. Okay. I felt like, the same examples that I had growing up, people exposing me to the sport, spending their time and building me up in that area, in that athletic area. I wanted to also have the opportunity to do that as well. Kind of like giving back. And that was just my passion. In teaching, teaching kids and working with kids in sports and in basketball. So, in order to coach, you have to also teach, right? So I ended up my bachelor's. I received a bachelor's in mathematics, a bachelor's of science in mathematics. So during that time, they were doing alternative certifications. So I decided, well, I think for the first couple of years or so, I'll just go and teach math. I went ahead and entered into a graduate math education program at the University of West Alabama. And I applied for a number of positions, around my local area. And I ended up being hired as the math teacher at Northridge High School. And I was up under Miss Margaret O'Neill at the time. And when she hired me on for the math position, I also told her that I was wanting to coach girls basketball. And so, she took the chance on me because, like, I was, first year in, and she actually made me the head girls basketball coach at Northridge High School. Yes, so I coached girls basketball for 9 years as the head coach at Northridge High School. So that's kind of my journey to going into education. And so, once I started teaching and, learning the field and, enjoying the whole process of, being able to work with children. And so I was not only just working with them on the academic scene, I was also able to, work with them on the athletic court. So, I loved it. So I went ahead and finished the master's program, and I ended up getting my master's in education, in math education. And from there, like I said, I coached basketball for a number of years, and I had my second son. And so from there, it was just really the time. I didn't really have the time that I would need to continue to put into basketball. So that's when I decided to rather resign from basketball. And I ended up going back to school, and I entered into administration program at the University of West Alabama. And so I ended up getting my instructional leadership degree or certification. And a year or so after that, I was bumped up to the assistant principal at Northridge High School. Yeah, so that's kind of my journey in education.
That's awesome. And so, obviously, being in education, like I said at the very beginning, as I was introducing, 20 years in education, it comes with you've seen kind of like initiatives that were introduced. Okay, that wasn't a good initiative. You've seen, okay, we're
Right.
focused on this, and now we're not focused on this. So, you've seen kind of like the ebbs and flows of a lot of different things.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about like kind of what is it like when you're in the classroom versus in an administration position. What type of adversity do you all face as educators and administrators?
Well, I would say that adversities would be we our kids have a lot of distractions now. You know, back I would say when I was in school, you didn't have so many more distractions. And I would say one of the leading distractions we have now are the cell phones. So, it's just a lot of things that our kids deal with and are exposed to now that sometimes take precedence over, the education world. And as, adults and as educators and as parents as well, we're here to make sure that they don't lose that focus and we recenter them back on the things that are most important and the things that are going to build them right now and get them ready for the future. And I feel like those are some of our challenges is just making sure that they know like what are the important things, what are the things we need to be focused on right now as a teenager, keeping the focus and keeping the real thing because they see so much, even like with reality TV sometimes, they get to thinking that is the real thing, but that's not life all the time. And I think a lot of the times we have to kind of just stand the ears like, now this is reality, these are the things that we need you all focusing on, this is what you need to be building yourself with in order to be prepared, for the future when you move on from high school.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you said that was an amazing part was an integral part of your story needs to be a part of everyone's story, and the thing specifically is that your parents told you that like education was like the key in order to open up doors. Like I go in and I speak at schools, and someone will tell me that they have like a kids that are getting in trouble, and they have me go talk to them. And if I ask every single one of them, do they think education is important? The answer is no. Like there is no like direct correlation between me being successful or me not cutting up or me not doing whatever you don't want them to do and being in this school. And so they're doing everything outside of the things that keep them there or to keep them successful in those environments. And so, but even without that, like there's kids that they go to school, but the only reason why they think they're there is because, well, I have to be here. And so, I don't exert put my best foot forward because like that it doesn't mean anything. So I mean, even for me, like I realized that being a young kid from the country in Alabama that only saw gas stations, plants, you know what I'm saying, that people were working there, truck drive and stuff like that. Like if I wanted something outside of that, I can't replay the same formula. I had to do something different to to increase the opportunities that I had. And for me, unfortunately for me, my parents were like, "Yo, you got to like prioritize education, just like you had around you." So I think it's one of the challenges is like being an educator in an environment to where education isn't even important to the people that are supposed to be getting educated.
Yeah, it's not always the focus. And the one thing about it, and we can tell kids all the time, education is the key. But, kids nowadays, you have to make it relatable to their right now worlds. And so, I remember many conversations I had, when teaching math, when was in my math classrooms with my students. Well, what is solving this equation gonna do for me when I get out of high school? you know, what is solving systems of equations going to do for me? I'm not going to ever use this again. And the one thing that I will always tell them, and you may not ever, have to solve an equation again, but you're going to have problems you're going to have to think your way through, analyze, come up with a plan, complete the plan. Those are skills that you are practicing on a daily basis when you're solving this equation. So it's like you have to make it relatable to their right now world and what the skills that they're going to have to be able to be successfully use when they leave the high school setting. But yeah, and they're going to they question a lot nowadays in reference to, I'm not going to need this, I'm going to use well, you're going to have to use the skills that you use to solve these equations. So you know but it's just like I say it all the time. We got to expose our children, and we have to, just let them know the reason, the why. Tell them the why. Also just give them opportunities to discover the why. And I tell them all the time. I said, look, I like to learn from other people's mistakes. You know, if I see this is the direction that you went and it led to an outcome that I don't want to see myself going through, then I'm going to do something opposite. I may look to see, okay, what is this? What is this person that's successful, has left high school, gone on to do great things. What did they do to lead to their journey, their successful journey? That may be something that I want to also do myself, because I know that can lead to the same success, and just kind of expose them to those examples.
One of the things I was one of my mentoring programs at a middle school out here. I asked them that question. It was a room full of kids that they was getting kicked out of school, in school suspension, out of school suspension, you name it, they done it. Uh, Grades weren't where they needed to be. Asked them, man, school ain't important, this and that. But then you ask all of them, do you want to be successful? Oh yeah, I want to be successful. I want to. Oh yeah, you want to do that? Name me all the people that are successful. That every time they encounter a problem or a challenge, they just quit. And that's what. So like you said, you got to make this thing relevant to them. Like you can't just say, oh well, because honestly, they're not. Most of them probably aren't going to go and be a math teacher like you. So how can we get them to take the principle that's necessary, whether it's problem solving, persistence, perseverance, all those things, and like realize how important those are versus just saying that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You got to know it. When I haven't used that since I learned it. you know. So that's good. So now, obviously, you talked about these things like happening in the classroom and how there's been a lot of different things where like student buying and things like that is a lot different than where it was for you. And so, but tell me about your journey, like when it comes to like pr- resilience. Like, did it kind of like start like when you got into the education space, or did something previous before getting here allow for you to be able to make it through these 20 years, or kind of prepare you for what would be these past 20 years, in education?
I started building my resilience well before I got into my adulthood. I would want to say more so around my middle school age years. You know, I did. We all have had challenges, but I did have challenges, growing up. Like I said, I come from very humble beginnings. My parents worked hard, but we, they provided the necessities, but it was very humble beginnings, but they will always say, hey, if you want more, you want to do better, use education and work hard, and you will be able to get whatever heights that you want to get to. And so I was one of those kids growing up. I looked at examples. I looked at people that were successful. I know I was an avid reader. I read a lot. I'm from the country too. So when I looked outside, all I saw was road, grass, fields, all the above. It took me about 20 minutes to get to the nearest town. And right. And so I'm from Carrollton, Alabama. So I think at the time we had one stoplight. They don't even have that one anymore. It's just a stop sign. So um we didn't have much to do. And my parents, like I said, they always wanted us, exposed to, everything that they could expose us to education wise. So do you remember when the in the dictionary encyclopedia people used to go through the neighborhoods and sell dictionaries and encyclopedias and things like that? So my parents, they couldn't afford the encyclopedia set, right? But it was a book. It probably was about this thick, and it had different sections in it. And it had like they didn't call it algebra back then, but they called it new math. So it had like a new math section. It had like a world history section. So just different sections. And so, I didn't have much to do. And I was a reader. And I always loved math. So I would take the new math section and would go through and just teach myself the topics, do the practice problems. And so I went through pretty much half of that book, you know, because like I said, I knew that was going to be my way out. That was going to be my way to do better. So I think that's what kind of put me on that level of being, pretty good in math. And I was doing this might have been about fifth, sixth, seventh grade. So it's about middle school years. Um, and at the same time, I was an avid reader. And so, Oprah Winfrey was big back then. So you had Oprah, you had Maya Angelou. So I read all of Maya Angelou's books. I read Oprah's autobiography. I read the autobiography for Martin Luther King Jr. Um, so it's just different reads that I would do. And like I said, I looked at successful people. And so I made sure, okay, let me read. I want to know their mindset, because whatever their mindset or whatever they're doing, it led to their success. I want to take that same thing up on. But that was my mindset early on. I was kind of like an old soul in that. And so everything that I would read and take away from those readings, I made sure that I intertwined it myself, within the classroom, also within basketball. So a few years after that, that's when I took on the sport of basketball. And so, I really love the sport. I wanted to be better. Um, I would say anytime you pass by my house, you would probably see me outside. My dad put a goal up. So I would always be outside shooting, going up and down the road, working on dribbling, dribbling skills, all of that. So anything that I wanted to be successful in, all of those things that I took upon myself from the different reads, from the different people that I saw were successful, I implemented that same thing. Um, just within my life. So, like I said, my resilience, I feel like, started from there because, like I said, I didn't have much. My parents didn't have much, but they wanted better for me. I wanted better for myself. So, just the resilience of gaining a full basketball scholarship. And that's what allowed me to move on and go to my first 4 years of school for free and capitalize off of that.
What, like, so, because one of the things that you hear often is that, I don't have this around me. And so, let's say, for example, somebody has the same upbringing that you have, and don't have necessarily anybody within their environment, mom, dad, brother, and sister, or whatever the case may be. And so they don't necessarily go the route of like, hey, I have these books. There are individuals out here. Like, where did you? Because I'm raise my hand. I'm talking about me. All right. So, uh, I didn't think that I could borrow from the minds of successful people to learn like what was their character like what were they doing, what was their mindset like what. I know you said you were old soul, but like what did that was that just innate?
I want to say it was innate. I was big. Like I'm an observant person, and that's kind of to me by nature. I'm observing even when you think I'm not. I'm observing your character, how you move. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just an observant person. But just early on, I've always, and anybody can tell you, I've always been a big Oprah Winfrey fan because she really did. How the kids say, she got it out of the mud. She did. And so, like, but she was one of the first examples that I saw of somebody getting it out of the mud. Like, she real deal, used her academic abilities as well as just her tenacity to reach the milestones that she did reach. And so I really did observe that, and I'm like, okay, I need to kind of look at how she's moving and look at how others are moving in order and do the same thing, so I can be successful too. But I felt like that I did that early on. Even like with the sport of basketball, it was certain players that I saw had a certain drive, and I'm like, okay, I need to do what they do so I can get better and be competitive like they are. So it's just, I don't know, I just always kind of been like that naturally.
I think it's and the thing I think that's interesting about that, because I think too many of us learn from experience. Like, I have to go through this, learn the lesson from this, and then I apply it to my life. What I'm hearing from you is, you're like, no, 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 no. I'm not going to use my own experience as, you know what I'm saying, as a classroom. There are other people that have what lessons from their own life experience in their classroom, and I can borrow from that, and that what can lead to my success. Heck, that can lead to me being able to be resilient, and myself. And so I love the fact that, because I feel like that came it came earlier in certain settings, but not in the settings that mattered the most. And so that's amazing that you were able to apply that at a very early age.
Yeah, and I try to tell my kids the same thing. And I actually literally just had this conversation about 2 days ago. Um, I don't know if I was talking to, I know I had a conversation with my daughter, but it was someone else I had a conversation with as well. You know, take from other people's advice. You don't have to go through the hardship. You don't have to go through the making of bad decisions and experiencing those consequences look at other examples. If I see a person that's moving this way and it's leading to this right here, I'm gonna do total opposite. I don't have to take myself through a challenge and have to go through that in order for me to learn. I'd rather learn from other people's mistakes, instead of making my own.
Yeah. I learned that from my older brothers and sisters, but I didn't take it. I didn't apply it to every area of life, and so that's what that was. So you seem to me like just being around you and just like hearing you, you seem like you just like exude within confidence. And I won't even just say confidence. I would say assurance. Like you're sure when you speak, you're sure of what you speak about. When you know something, you know it, and maybe reading so much very early on in life has like played a role in that. But where does this like assurance come from as it relates to like who you are and how you carry yourself?
Well, I'm a person of faith and I believe in God. And I feel like I'm one of those. I ask God, I don't want to ever move um, me be the author of my movement. I want God to always lead me in the direction that He has for me to go. And I'm one of those. I always pray the prayer, close the door that you don't want me to go in, but open the one that you want me to go through. So when God does open doors, I know it's ordained by Him. So if it's ordained by Him, I know I'm here for a reason. So I feel like if I already know I'm here for a reason, then there's no other way for me to move but with assurance and confidence because I know I'm here for something, and it'll always reveal itself, you know, in the end or during the whole process what you're here for. And so I think that kind of is some of my assurance of how I carry myself because I feel like I'm always asking God to just guide my footsteps and just to give me the skills. Um, and the mindset that I need in order to be able to be the example that He wants me to be.
And I think that like it seems like me like you're a person that moves like with purpose, but I'm not gonna lie to you, man. There are some things that I feel like at times that kind of like even test, you know what I'm saying? Test us at times. Like in so what like has there been anything in your life that's kind of like tested your resilience that has actually tested your faith, your belief, like what
Right.
anything that you've experienced that maybe have tested that at times.
Let me tell you, I think we all have gone through tests. I very much so have had my share of tests, past, present, and I know I'm going to have some in the future. But I know, like I said, I kind of talked about my journey from finishing college, going into the education world. I also became a parent, may have been my second year teaching. And so to kind of summarize, what all I had going on, mind you, I was still working on my graduate degree in math education. And at the time, that was before the online classes. So these were face-to-face classes. My school was about an hour away from where I was living. So I would work full time. Um, then I would leave from school and then have to drive an hour and go sit in class. Most of my classes lasted to about 9:15, and then I would have to drive another hour to come back home and then do it all over again. And I was taking at least two, so I would have classes pretty much at least four, I would say 4 afternoons, out of the week. And like I said, I was a single mother. So I had a infant child and I was coaching 3 sports. So I would begin the year coaching volleyball, then I would go into basketball, and then I was coaching soccer. So coaching 3 sports, so that's sports year round, full time teacher, I never want to be average. So, I'm always giving 150%, in that teaching profession, as well as I was a single mother. And my parents, well, most of my family didn't even stay in the city that I was living in. So I didn't have much, too much of help. So that really did test my resilience right there because that took a lot to be able to manage and get through that. In order to be able to get support, sometimes I would have to go home, and allow them to kind of help with India and everything. But that really did test my resilience, but I was motivated. I wanted to get my degree, and I felt like, with that being said, all that was going to do was just help me to help my child at that point. We know it's in education. in order to, get your salary up. That's the more degrees, that helps with that. But, I felt like those are things that I had to do in order to, raise my child. And that's what I was going to do. So, and I was motivated. So I ended up, I finished, graduated with my master's program. Like I said, I continue coaching sports. I continue, to do more things and to, climb the ladder in the education world as well. But, just that perseverance. And that was, out of all of my degrees, that was the one that I'm the most proud of because I experienced the most hardship in getting that degree. So, it just taught me, no matter the challenges, as long as you stay focused and keep working hard, you can reach wherever you want to reach. You can go as high as you want to go. Whatever you set your mind to, I'm an avid believer, you can do it. You're going to have challenges along the way. We all do. We all have those days that we get discouraged and, cry it out. Take you about a good day to cry it out, and then you get right back up the next day and you keep it moving. And that's one of the mantras that I live by. Hey, have your pity party, but you only have it for one day, and you get back up and you just keep going. Because whatever, you're gonna have those challenges, and I think sometimes it's designed in order to build your character. So you have to look at your challenges as character builders, motivational pieces, and turn it like that, and just keep it moving, keep going.
I was speaking to somebody earlier today, and one of the things that were talking about was how we're wired. And one of the things that I said is that I feel like our journeys, the challenge that we have, it kind of made us who we are. The ups and downs, all that stuff. But that's what it is. We were talking about kids. But I was like, but then we have kids, and we say we don't want our kids like to have the same challenges that we had. But then look what those challenges produce. And so we take the struggle away, and then we recognize and we experience what the lack of strength or the perseverance. And so I guess the question I have: do you feel like the struggle is necessary in order to produce the strength and resilience that you have?
It's most definitely necessary. Now you don't want it half the time, but you don't want it, especially if you're in the in that current struggle. You don't want it a lot of the times. But what happens when you have those tests and you pass those tests and you get to the other side of it and you see how much that have grown you, that could either be just your character, it could be professionally, it could be in any capacity. Once you get over that hurdle and you look back, you look at things and you say, okay, that was necessary to get me to this level. And sometimes they're just mindset builders and mindset changers, just to get you in a certain mindset. Because I'm big on, like I said, I'm a person of faith. And I don't think God allows us to go through challenges. Those are just not by chance, situations. He allows those things um, because He knows how that's going to build us in the long run. And I feel like this also, He allows those things to build you so you can also serve as examples for others.
One of the things I heard one time, and it was one of the most amazing things that I heard. A friend of mine is a speaker. He's in Arizona, and he said in the same way that bread needs yeast in order to rise, he was like, we also have to go through these lessons. And he said, but when we go through these lessons, we get presented with a test. And if we pass that test, he was like, that's when we rise in life. He said, so the lesson is the yeast. And if we don't
Right.
get the lesson, then we miss out on that ability to be able to rise. And I was like, I like that analogy. So I'm a shout out to Brother Gazi. He's the one that I heard that from. And so I feel like you shared a similar sentiment with that. And so with that being said, I feel like one of the things that is super amazing is that you've had persevered, whether it be within your personal life, your academic career. Professionally, you've continued to persevere. And one of the things I wanted to ask is that what do you feel like this? If we look ahead, let's say we're looking ahead. Um, what do you feel like is next for you, and what will it take in order for you to kind of, because you got a new challenge now. You're in the building. You know, you're the principal now, right? And so
Right, right.
as you look
Mhm.
ahead, um, how do you see as you move forward, like continuing to do what you've done pretty much every step along the way?
Well, I want to keep the same growth mindset. I'm one of those. I tell people all the time. I'm a forever learner. You know, I'm one of those. I want to always get better. And like I said, and that's across the board. I want to always improve myself professionally. So with that being said, anything that I could put my hands into, any type of training, any type of people that I can encircle myself with, that's gonna also help me grow because I'm kind of looking at them and how they move. I'm gonna continue to do that, and vice versa, be that same person for any person that I'm working with, whether that be any of my faculty members, whether that be my students. My mindset is to help them grow as well as myself. My mindset is to also be that example. Of course, at Sumter Central High School, we have major goals. We're trying to grow our students, we're trying to get better as educators. And so, if I'm asking my students to grow, and if I'm asking my teachers to grow, I should also be expecting myself to grow. Because the biggest thing is, how am I asking you to do these things if I'm not leading by example? So I want to continue to be that person that's going to lead by example. I want to continue to be that positive, that that optimistic thinking person. That no challenge is ever too big. Whatever the challenge is, we can always conquer it. We can always get over that and move on to the next thing. And I want to always be that motivational person that it just encourages anyone that I'm working with to keep moving forward. Don't look at what you have, don't look at what you come from. Look at where you're trying to go. And if you're looking at and you're keeping your focus on where you're trying to go, the path to get there is going to create itself as long as you keep that focus on what you're trying to do. And like I said, that could either be with my faculty members that I'm working with every day, or with my kids. It's the same mindset. And so, like I say, I just want to continue to be that example, continue to grow myself professionally, because if I'm growing myself professionally, that's just going to improve the people that I'm working with as well.
That's good. That's good. And so I just want to say, man, I'm grateful to be able to sit down and have this conversation with you. One of the things that we end all of our segments on, it's called Better Days Ahead. And I think with resilience, it's one of the things that I've heard you say is that no matter where you at, you've been able to look ahead, and you've been able to see something that was in front of you, and you continue to press towards that mark. And so, do you have any mantras, any maybe it's a quote, any life lessons, wisdom that you live by? What advice or what wise words would you leave for somebody to listen to this podcast episode to encourage them that there are better days ahead?
I'm gonna give you this mantra that my mother taught me growing up, and we do have mentor program that we are kickstarting this second semester at Sumter Central High School. We also kickstarted another mentor program at Northridge High School too. Well, this is going to be year 3, and it's called Setting the Standard. And we now have Setting the Standard 2.0 at Sumter Central High School. So one of the mantras that I also built those mentor programs on, which is what my mother taught me when I was growing up, and it is good, better, best, never rest. Let me go back. Good, better, best. Never rest until your good is better and your better is best. So that's what I live by. Like I said, you should always be a lifelong learner. You should always want to improve anything that you're involved in, like as far as with your craft, like any type of extracurriculars, your profession, as well as just your character. So good, better, best. Never rest until your good is better and your better is best.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate you sitting down and having this conversation with me. Listen. I just want to give it up for you for all the amazing things that you've done, for you persevering through. And that is another segment that we have here of the Mindset on Resilience podcast. And for everybody out there, I'm gonna end it with what she said: good, better, best. Never settle until your good is better and your better is best. You all go have a great day.